Greetings, comic book fans, and welcome to the Dude Cave. I'm Jason. It is Tuesday, the 18th of October, and you are watching Comic Book Opinions, Episode 3. Today, I will be sharing my opinions on a couple of books that I've been reading lately. So we have, well, if I can get them off the table without dropping them, we have Thor, The Mighty Thor, issue 242 from 1975, and from the much more recent 2016, which is this year, so yeah, it is right up to date. We have Britannia issue number 1. Those are the two books I'll be talking about today. So I think we all know what time it is. It's opinion time. So the first book I would like to talk about is The Mighty Thor issue number 242. This book is the start of a brand new arc. It is written by Len Wein, with art by Joe Buscema and Joe Sinnott. So yeah, the reason I decided to start my collecting of Thor with issue 242 was I got issue 250, and I kind of traced back that the story there started here. So that's why I went back to this one. It was released in 1975, so the book is older than me, which is great. At my age now, it's getting increasingly difficult to find things that are older than me. But this book is only a year older than me, but it's still older than me, so that's cool. What I loved about the book is it reminded me so much of the comics of my youth. Comics back when I was a kid in the 80s, they were all ages books. And sometimes when I say all ages, I think some people misunderstand what I'm meaning. People think that I mean books that are written like for children, that they're more of a simpler story, simpler dialogue. And I don't mean that at all. For me, all ages books are books that are written at two levels. I think The Simpsons as a TV show are a great example of this, in how there'll be gags in The Simpsons that kids will laugh at. There'll be gags that the adults will get that will just be over the kid's head, and there's gags that both will laugh at, you know. And that's what I mean by all ages, that it works like that. And I know I've gone back as an adult and read some of the comics that I read as a kid, and there's things going on I never picked up on as a kid. But it didn't spoil my enjoyment of those books one bit, because it was done. And I think books were a lot more subtle with things back in the day. Nowadays, I think most of the comic book buying community seem to be in 30s to 40s, you know, around my age group. And that doesn't. There are teenagers and people in the 20s buying comics, and there's probably people older than that buying comics. But I think that seems to be the core age group. And so the books are written for adults now. They're not written where these days they were written primarily for kids, probably, but they were written for adults nowadays. And so the stories are more kind of adult. And I think that they've lost that subtlety that they had back then, where the book, yeah, it was written, but an adult could read this and could enjoy it on a level and pick up on storylines different. A key point in this book, one of the key factors is Odin wants Thor to go back to Asgard with him, because I get like the previous story, Odin had his memory wiped and Thor had to rescue his dad and kind of gets his memory back. And then Odin wants to go back to Asgard and says they need Thor. And Thor goes to take Jane Foster with him. Now, in the meantime, unbeknownst to Odin, Lady Sif has died, and her soul is now inside of Jane Foster. And so Jane Foster is now essentially a god. And so Odin wanting Thor to kind of be in a relationship with another god, it would work now. She would get his approval. And so she's trying to get Thor to tell Odin, because she knows Odin will approve now. But Thor's like, no. And you kind of pick up that Thor wants his dad to accept Jane Foster as a person, not because she fits this criteria that he feels his son should go out with him or should marry. He wants him to like her for her and accept her as her. So Thor won't tell his dad that. Now, that whole kind of plot there works on a level for kids, because kids will understand that sometimes their parents tell them to do things they don't want to do. So kids will kind of get it on that level. But for adults, you kind of get it on a deeper level where you kind of understand that back in the past that there were class systems. Even now in some countries, you still have caste systems where you can't go out with anyone who's not in your caste, especially not if they're a lower caste. And so like that thing happens in the real world. And a lot of times, you'll find people will go, even people that don't live in societies like that still don't want people, if you're a millionaire, you don't want your daughter dating a mechanic, even though there's nothing wrong with dating a mechanic, but you kind of have, so it still goes on in the world and it kind of speaks on that and it works on that level. As an adult, you pick that up, but as a kid, you kind of don't get it that deeply. But you just understand that sometimes parents kind of have different expectations for you or tell you to do things that you don't really want to do. So I really loved how that worked here. I thought that was brilliant, and it just reminded me of a different age. The other thing that reminded me of a different age, even though this is the start of a new story, a new writer coming in, it is very much part of a serial. Every issue kind of recaps what's happened, but they do it very organically. It's in conversation with other characters, so it doesn't feel like an info dump. But each issue, it doesn't feel like the start of a new arc. Like today, because it's collected as a trade, it's very distinctive, and every new arc, every new trade or arc is the kickoff for where somebody can come in and join the book. Here, not so much. Even though this is the start of a new story and a new writer, it's still kind of finishing off things from the previous story, which I found interesting. Yet I never felt lost reading it. I felt completely caught up, and it was easy to follow. One of the other things that I absolutely loved about this is the dialogue. Some people won't like this because it is a bit like how you say wordy, but like there's this scene here where the servitor shows up and he wants and they battle, and Thor wants him to give back Jane Foster. So Thor says, "Thou dost speak confidently, servitor, too confidently, methinks. For be thou formed of platinum flesh or unwelded metal, thou shalt shalt thou fall before the mystic might of Mjolnir." I know for some that's too flowery and a bit complicated to read, but I just loved it. I love words, and I love kind of how different errors used words differently or structured sentences in a different manner. So this was something just right up my alley. I really enjoyed. I'm really looking forward to reading the rest of the ones I've bought and getting more in the future. Yeah, it is a very enjoyable experience. If you get the opportunity to pick one of these books and give it a read, even if you're not of that era, it's still interesting to read to see how comics were, to kind of appreciate how they are today. So yeah, really enjoyed that. I think I've spent so long nanoing about Thor. I think I've just got enough time to talk about Britannia, issue number 1 from Valiant. Issue 2 came out last week. It's got a lovely cardboardy cover, which Valiant do to make their events good. And inside got like book 1, so it kind of feels straight away special. I knew this was set during Roman times, and I love my history, but especially Roman times. And the book opens up very stylized there. Before kind of going into the regular story. It centers around the Vestal Virgins, and the head Vestal Virgin gets this soldier to rescue this one that has been kidnapped, but they can't have it exposed that she's been kidnapped because it would bring shame on the Virgins. So he has to do it kind of covertly, and she makes sure he's okay. But something kind of supernatural goes down, and he's not the same. And the story jumps forward a little bit, and you see now he's not the same as he was before the whole incident. And by the end of and he's kind of this investigator now that goes around kind of putting things right. I'm trying to find like you can see he's got like a child, but there's a whole complicated story. He's just not the same person he was. He has a child, but he's letting somebody else raise that child because he just don't feel that he's in the state to be a father. So, by the end of the story, you kind of find out more that the head Vestal Virgin is a bit more manipulative than we first thought. And, that like events that in the present where he's been sent to England kind of have a link to what happened in the beginning of the book. I'm probably not doing the best job of describing this book, but I really enjoyed this. It kind of combines the supernatural with historical fiction, which was a really nice combo. Really worked well. It was also really great to see Juan Jose Rip back on art. I remember him, he did a book called Clone, which was a fantastic book from Image. I actually love that book. And so I'm always pleased when I see him on something because I do like his art and he does a really, really gorgeous looking book. So yeah, if you like your history, if you like your kind of paranormal, I think this would be definitely a book worth checking out. So yeah, Britannia #1. I think that's all I've got time for today. The rest of the books will have to wait till another day. Thank you very much for watching my video. The backup plan at the moment is I will be back at some point Friday, Saturday with a haul video. And then next week, fingers crossed, I'm hoping to do another comic opinions video as well as another, well, for the first time in a while, do a Marvel Ultimate Graphic Novels video as well. So those are the plans, but we will see how things go. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. All that leaves to be said is that I've been Jason. As it is the Tuesday, the 18th of October, and you have been watching Comic Book Opinions. Keep reading, and bye for now.